Although I like to hear him. Well, anyway, hi everybody. Welcome to the Rules and Government Relations meeting of January 28th, 2021. Do we have minutes to approve? I think
yes, 12:29.
Okay.
I move we accept the minutes.
I second that.
All right. We got a motion, a second. All in favor, Councilor Rist?
Yes.
Councilor Coniff?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Okay, minutes are approved. I know that we have a little bit of a hard stop because we're sharing the Zoom account with appointments tonight. So let's get right into it and discuss this waiver. Jen, do you just want to kind of lay out the situation?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. So I am the chair of the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership. And in my day job, I work at Community Action Pioneer Valley. And so last spring or summer, the CPA committee, Councilor Rist, and the Housing Partnership and the Planning Department started talking about using CPA money for an emergency rental assistance program for the residents of Easthampton. Mm-hmm. And at that time, Community Action was already talking to the town of Amherst about potentially administering their program. And so I knew that if Easthampton decided to go forward and put out an RFP, that it would be likely that Community Action would respond to the RFP. So I recused myself as a housing partnership member from all of the conversations that the housing partnership and the planning department had and the subcommittee meetings and whatnot. When it came up on the agenda during housing partnership meetings, I left the meeting. And so the city did put out an RFP, Community Action did respond to administer the program, and we were selected. And so it was at the suggestion of the planning department, I think it was brought up by someone that, you know, it could appear as though I may have a conflict of interest as a housing partnership member and as named in I as the manager for Community Action. So that's why I filled out the disclosure form. I just want to be clear that I am a salaried employee at Community Action. I will get paid the same amount regardless of whether or not I work on this contract or any other work that I do. So this contract with the city, I'm in the budget for a fairly small amount. It does not increase the amount of money that I get paid at Community Action. It just becomes part of what I'm already earning.
Sure. And what is your title at Community Action?
I'm the Assistant Director of Community Services, which is a department.
Okay. Dan, I saw your hand.
I just wanted to say, you had no involvement in the contract negotiations at all, right?
I had no involvement in the development of the request for proposals that we responded to.
But your company responded to them, and were you involved in that?
I was involved in the response from Community Action, and I've been involved in the contract negotiations for as behalf of Community Action with the city.
But since you have no monetary benefit, I think this disclosure is appropriate, but I'm certainly not worried.
Yeah, just as a question, did you reach out to the State Ethics Commission at all throughout this whole thing?
So Jamie reached out to them on my behalf, and that's when, and there was a little, as a special municipal employee, which is what I'm considered, there's two different kinds of disclosures, and one of them has to get approved by city council and one of them doesn't. And so Jamie reached out to the State Ethics Commission to make sure we were filling out the correct disclosure form.
Okay. I only ask because I had to do a similar thing for a family conflict that emerged over the course of this year. And for what they told me to do is just file it with the clerk, and there was no council process or anything. But as an elected, it might be a kind of different thing. I was just curious. But you had recused yourself from the process to begin with, so you had no hand in that whole thing. So I don't really see. I mean, I personally don't. I don't see. I mean, I appreciate you forthcoming about this, but I don't really see a problem. One question I have that is maybe unrelated is the fact that we're doing this now. Does that make? Do I understand that? Like, are we currently running this program, or is this still getting off the ground?
So we were a little bit delayed, and so the anticipated start date is February 1st.
Okay, so this whole time, that money has not been in play in the city.
Right. We haven't. None of the money's been spent. That's been set aside.
Wow. Okay.
Which is unfortunate, but at least it's still there.
Well,
And
yeah,
I can safely say as a witness that she had no involvement with the CPA action or the RFP or anything, because Jackie was the representative of Fair Housing. So
great.
I
don't know if I have any further questions. President Coniff, do you have any questions?
I don't. I think the transparency that Jana has shown in this entire process by recusing herself and then going to the ethics board and filling out this form. I mean, it's very clear to me that she is doing everything she can to show that this is not something that she is in conflict with. The state doesn't believe she's in conflict with it. So, and quite honestly, I think we need to get going on this. So if this is the organization we have selected, then let's go.
Yeah, I have no desire to hold the.
your conflict of interest hasn't held this up, right? This is has nothing to do with you.
But we don't want to hold it. I mean, we don't want this to be a reason it is held up even longer.
All right.
Right. So, I mean, if the city felt that it was a conflict and I shouldn't be involved, then, it wouldn't, we would have to change the way we're doing the business, the business of the program. I would have to, change something. So, but I don't, otherwise I think we're moving along.
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
have any
well,
problem with this.
I move that we accept the waiver for her.
Second? Tom seems to have frozen in place.
It's a nice picture, Tom.
And we've lost him. We'll finish that vote, Jana, when he comes back.
Peg Coniff is the host now.
I am, yeah. The power. Actually, the fact that, Dan and I are probably yeses, it's probably going to be.
Well, I'll wait for him to come back, but I appreciate the understanding of what
You wanted unanimous. Yes, he said everything just froze. Internet crashed.
Oh.
So I guess we'll wait. You want to wait, Dan, or you want to go with the vote?
I think you as president can lead the vote, and if you want for this, we only need two yeses. So I'm sure Tom's a yes too.
Yeah, I don't know how long he'll be, so I am willing to go with a vote. Councilor Rist?
Yes.
Councilor Coniff is an aye. We will call this passing 2-0. Thank you, Jana, for going through this effort. I think this is the step, that people with a lot of integrity go through, and I appreciate that. So thank
Does she need to be at the council meeting?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Everybody knows you.
Yeah, you don't need to come next Wednesday unless you just find yourself with an hour with nothing to do.
I'll give you something to do if you need something to do.
I'm sure I could find something else to do.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Okay. Good
Have a
night.
good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What do we want to do about the rest of the meeting?
Well, give him a couple of minutes. I'll just write the,
Well,
do you want me to pause the, well,
I just wanted to say one of the things I was going to bring up tonight was the charter request.
Mhm.
Having just gone through the charter and finally getting into the legislature, I want to pull that request and without prejudice, only because it deals with the subject of setting the salary for the mayor and that can't happen for another year or two. And I believe there's other charter issues which people are thinking about. Why don't we wait and do it then? I just don't feel like,
I'm
I certainly
confused.
don't want to send it to the state until they're done with this one.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
my-
confused. I'm confused. So the change to the mayor salary will not take effect next January?
Oh, yeah. JP, and I agree with him, is trying to make it very clear that we're allowed to stagger the
Right, no, yeah, we've already litigated all that, but what do
yeah,
you
but
think?
and I didn't think we needed it because Mark said we could, but it's okay I've always felt that charter statements that are very exact are a lot easier to deal with. So that's what JP was doing. All I'm saying is we can't send something new to the legislature until they're done with what we have. I guess we could, but I think it's just piling on. So I don't know. We could leave it there, but I don't think we'll get to it for months.
I don't know why, I guess I'm not sure why we're talking about that in this meeting.
Well, it's on the agenda. I was going to bring it.
Oh, okay.
It's all of the stuff that's on the agenda is there. There he is.
I'm just not clear on, okay. You'll have to go through that again, Dan. I really was not tracking. Sorry.
And that's okay. It's not part of I was just having a chat.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that, guys. My internet is horrible.
Well, I heard there's a guy that's trying to fix that in town.
Yeah, I heard that too.
We voted, Tom, because we didn't
Oh,
know.
okay.
Yes, you're no longer on the council. We voted.
I
you
got
out.
kicked off the council.
Yeah, we have power.
Well, I will also vote aye. I assume that's what you both
Yes.
did. Okay, so you can now make it unanimous.
Okay.
So, okay, I kind of expected that to be a little bit,
I like quick ideas.
thing. Is there, I mean, I had kind of said, I hadn't really, I'm not super prepared to talk about any of this other stuff just because I kind of expected that to be a, bit
Oh, really?
gated than it was.
Really? I didn't think it would take long at all. But
I didn't
Well,
either. Okay.
Let's see. Okay, I will give you an update on two things. The two things we discussed last time, the committee chairs and the anti-bias training.
Yep.
I did reach out to the mayor to discuss those. And her general feelings on both of those things, particularly the emails, was that she would be in a better position institutionally to respond to that in late February, early March, particularly because right now they're hiring a new system admin. And so I guess the situation is that not only did Ashley leave, but I guess whoever was in the second in command there went over to work for the schools. So she really just didn't have a person on hand who could make big important decisions on this subject at this exact second.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that couldn't we pass it and let the mayor activate it whenever it's possible? I mean, she's not opposed to it, right?
I think the issue was that we had some technical questions about the costs involved with actually implementing.
Oh, really?
And there's not really anybody who's in a position. I don't actually think that the costs are big, but what Ashley had said made it sound like it was going to be kind of a big expense. And we had some questions about whether you could do it in a different way that would be easier. And there's basically just not really a person right now who's in a position to make those calls. So she had asked if these are things that we could sort of wait a couple weeks. And I said that I didn't think either of them were super time sensitive, although I would like to see us move on them. So.
Well, I have to say, I apologize because I didn't think there was a lot of complication to it. But if there is, and it requires the IT person to give us information, then absolutely. Let's wait until we can get that person on board, give them time to adjust to their new surroundings and give us whatever information we need, cost whatever, so that people can access committee chairs. Because that's the question, right? How a resident can get to a committee chair.
Yeah, right.
All right.
The other thing, sorry, go ahead.
I just said we'll wait on it. That's fine.
Yeah, all right. Out of the other things that we have, I know we have Lindsay's proposal for an amendment to Council Rule 5C, and we have I did speak, on the pilot stuff, I did speak to Councilor Flood, who indicated she'd be interested in taking that up. So asked that we just keep it on our agenda, and that she might want to make that a thing that she's working on. So I was just going to hold it on our agenda until she sort of could get back to me with sort of whether she wanted to go with that same language or try something else or put it off till some other date. And
can we at least ask for a date at which it could be discussed? I hate things being on any committee's agenda forever.
Yeah, no, I agree.
If there's a reason, and we need to get the mayor here, see how she feels. So let's get Erica's response to when can she provide us with her assessment of it, and so we can start really getting into it and finishing it up.
Right. And
give her a couple of months. I don't know what to...
Sorry, what was that, Dan?
I just like it off the plate before this council term ends.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
I mean, it did transfer from last term, so.
Yeah. We have JP's proposed charter amendment.
I would like to propose that be removed without prejudice, only because having just sent the charter to the state, I don't think we should be sending them any more charter requests. And the second reason is because it deals with clarification on how the salary can be dealt with. And the salary of the mayor has already been set, and if the next council wants to deal with it, that's a year from now, another year, 18 months. So, and there's precedence that they can still do the same thing. I like the clarity that it represents for the charter. But I also know that you and I have a couple of other items we might want to add to the list, and we could put this one with it. I wanted to do something about emergency appointments, for instance. Mark suggested that. But I don't want to send anything to the state. I would be opposed to sending anything to the state until we get back what we've been waiting on. And we finally got that to them where it's legislative language, and as Dan Carey says, they're going to start looking at it. If we get it back by the summer, maybe, then we can put it forward. I just feel it could be part of a full package of other charter changes that, Tom, you and I were thinking about. How do you feel?
I don't necessarily disagree with that. What I don't really understand is on the statewide level, like, would introducing this now cause any sort of complications or hiccups, or would it just be another of the hundreds of things floating around there?
I don't want it to delay action on what we've got, and it might.
Yeah, I just don't know if it would or not. But if you're right, then I totally agree.
The other thing is I don't see the urgency. Why take the chance on that? The urgency isn't there because, number one, we have precedents that they can still do at the next council, even if the charter's not changed. And two, it doesn't affect anything until the next council and well into it, the first year when the finance committee has to review salaries, et cetera. They want to make another change to the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to introduce anything that may cause a delay on what we've got right now. It may not, you might be right, but why? Why take the chance? That's my feeling anyway.
I tend to agree, but what I would like to do is just, because he's not here, just if there's some reason why JP thinks that this is very important, just give him an opportunity to say so before we make that motion, if that's okay with you.
All right. Can we discuss it at the council meeting?
Sure.
I don't understand, Dan. What's the urgency to get it removed?
I'd like to see our agenda.
Right. Yeah.
I just don't see I think it was a reaction to the fact that we had to get an attorney's opinion. We had to do all this to get, he came back with something I already knew we could do, and it was great. But I don't know. I just feel like we could leave it there. It's just that our agenda is pretty full. And I don't want people to think that we're not doing anything, but okay. You're right, Peg. I don't need to do it. It's not that. I wonder what Omar thinks. Is he really there?
Yes, I'm here, but Cindy is in another meeting and I cannot talk. Sorry.
Okay,
No worries.
that's a good one. All right, well, we'll leave it on. If you guys think it should stay on, I mean, okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, but I agree. We should probably start clearing some of these things off. So why don't I...
Well, Lindsay's rule change, wasn't that pretty simple?
That was pretty simple. I'm just trying to actually find the language. Do you remember what meeting that was introduced in?
November 19th was the date.
Oh, great.
Not sure. Whatever meeting coincided with November 19th-ish.
Right. Yeah, I'm just pulling that up because, yeah, we might as well.
Hers was just really just a change from a couple of words. That was it.
Yes. Yeah, I remember it being minor and fairly sensible. I just want to make sure that I have it in front of me before I...
I have the November 18th one up. Is that the one?
I have a council meeting on, November 18th.
I think it was after that.
It was?
Okay.
It came out of that meeting, so it's whatever the meeting was after that.
So...
I mean, which packet would it be in? November 18th or the
So
next
it's, here's the, do you want me to just read what it says?
one? Oh, sure.
If you have it, then
Yeah,
yes.
Why are we looking for it if you
I don't know. I really don't. So today, Rule 11J says, unless otherwise stated by state law or home rule charter, the status of any measure or item having been properly presented and referred to a committee by the full council must, as of the date of the adoption of this rule, be reported by that committee at least 90 days following the initial referral. Lindsay's, what is her change? Let's see. Did we already change it? The part she has highlighted is exactly the way it's written today. So now I'm confused.
Oh, she says that I believe that sentence should say
On.
be reported on. It just says be reported, and she thinks
By that committee in no more than. That instead of saying at least 90 days, she's saying in no more than 90 days.
and that's right, because at least 90 days makes it seem like you can't talk about it.
Right. 90 days has to go by, and then we can start talking about it.
Okay.
Shall we move to approve Lindsay's language?
I would entertain a motion.
I so move.
Second?
All right. Motion and a second. All in favor. Councilor Rist.
Yes.
Councilor Coniff.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Motion passes.
Tom, could you, or maybe Peg, present the new rule at the meeting so we can?
Yes, I will. I'll send the updated language to Barb.
Well, I think you should just send it to the full council and Barb. She doesn't have to do a whole new packet, does she? Oh, I guess she does.
Well, no, I don't think it necessarily needs to be in the packet, but at some point the council rules will have to be updated.
Well, no, but we're going to talk about it, so the whole council should get
Yeah.
it.
Well, but they don't need to get it in advance. I mean, it's already on the agenda. So we can just, in your report, Tom, you could say what we decided on and have people yay or nay it.
Okay, fair enough.
Then you can just read it.
Yeah, yeah. Or share your screen.
Yeah,
Hey, we
Fair
got
enough.
something done. We got 2 things done.
that's true. We got 2 things. More things were removed from our agenda than added in the last week and a half. So
I know.
that's good.
What about the anti-bias? You were going to say something about that, John?
Yeah, that was again, I guess I spoke to the mayor about that at the same time that I spoke about the IT thing. And as a recap of what we discussed last time, I think we had all basically agreed that the simplest way to do it would be to just say that the council should do the anti-bias training that standard city employees do. But one question that some folks had was about whether, like, what if we didn't like that training? What if that training didn't cover things that we thought were important? And in that case, I think that the best case scenario, because it would mean that we probably don't have to uniquely find money to pay for this, would be that just the council has some say, or the council has some has some role in helping to actually determine what those materials are for the city in general.
Is the mayor developing anti-bias training for the employees?
We already do it. The city's done it for a while. Yeah.
Okay, so what you're saying is, why can't we just be part of that? We just need to find out how complicated it is. A bunch of meetings or lessons or something? I don't know. Is it an
That's
online?
kind of what I was
course?
trying to figure out.
Is it an online course? What do the employees have to do?
I believe it's an online course.
I remember having to take that for ethics. Remember, we do that.
Sure, yeah, and I don't have any issue with that. But the challenge that I recall, or the one of the issues that I recall us having, and President Conniff, I believe that you were sort of bringing this up. So if I'm paraphrasing incorrectly, please correct me here. But there was basically that, like, we as a council might have some ideas about the content of these trainings. And so at minimum, we should be able to weigh in on what the city trainings are if we're taking them as well. And, because you wouldn't want to be in a situation where we felt that there was important stuff that was not getting discussed in the city training, but we were just taking it anyway and saying, well, we got our training, even though it was sort of our opinion that it should have been something else. So really, I think the easiest way for us to sort of address that would just be for, there just to be an understanding in writing that, like, that the council or the council president is going to be part of, going forward as the city selects their anti-bias training, that the council would be an equal partner in that conversation. And that way we will make sure that everyone's getting training that is up to everyone's standards. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to make sure that the mayor would not have any reason to object to that.
And she said
that, I think in theory she'd be fine with it, but when I asked her if she and the personnel director could maybe drop by to have a chat about that, she said yes, but could it be, again, sort of maybe later in February?
Let me ask 2 questions. Is the current anti-bias training been updated? Certainly,
no
considering the last year's social justice issues? You don't know?
Yeah, I have no idea. I haven't personally spoken to the personnel director. I had asked the mayor if she and the personnel director might be willing to attend one of our meetings.
Right.
And she said, yes, that's fine, but could it be later in February?
Well, we could have Emily come just to find out where we are. And my thought on it is we have no anti-bias training now. If we really feel it's valuable for the council, we should just say we'll use the employees' anti-bias training, and as it gets updated, our president will be involved. I don't see, if we want to do it, we don't do anything now.
So can I just make a suggestion if we go down that path? I would not limit it to the city council president, because we don't know who the city council president will always be. And I would say it needs to be kind of the city council president can certainly participate, but I think the city council should vote on it, because what if whoever is city council doesn't take it all that seriously or doesn't care?
Well, then we could say the Rules of Government Relations Committee, because that committee is exactly what should be involved in developing the training, and that the mayor, when she goes to update the program, will, as agreed, to allow the council.
I like that better.
And then the council gets updated from our committee.
Yeah, I like that better.
But I don't think we can say, well, we could wait till get it approved, but I think that's, if we want to wait till February to make a final decision, but I see us just saying yes. Counselors we'd have to make a rule if we're going to make it mandatory, right?
We have, so there is a module of anti-bias training that the city uses, Tom, is that what the mayor said?
That's my understanding, yes.
And we have no idea what that looks like.
No.
Okay, that might be the next step, is to see it. And if that's what February is, then I think we have to wait to see it. I don't want to adopt something I haven't seen.
Or maybe we could ask Emily to just send us a link so we could look at it. I mean, it must be an online something, right?
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody wants to adopt this training course, there must be a way for the company that's doing it to show you what it is. So,
right.
Do that.
Employees are taking it, then I'm sure that we could just get access to it and take it ourselves and see how we feel about it.
Yep.
Okay.
I guess that the bigger thing is, if we were saying like, oh, the city's anti-bias training will now be, selected by the mayor, but then approved by the city council, like I'm fine with that. But I just wanted to run it by the mayor.
I don't think that the idea of the council approving the mayor's anti-bias training is going to fly. It's just that she's agreeing to allow us to be involved in developing it or working on it, only because the mayor's in charge of all the employees. I mean, we could ask. I don't know. I mean, for us to allow it to be approved, we'd have to write an ordinance, wouldn't we? I mean, we'd have to make it official. The next mayor may not want to do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right. And this is kind of where I'm saying this gets a little bit complicated, is just figuring out like what exactly is the nature of the council's role in approving that going forward.
Okay. And the other thing we have to decide is, are we mandating it? Are we making it a council rule that counselors must take this anti-bias training? We may have our own, we may use the city. But is that what this committee is going to recommend by rule? Or do you think it could be just...
Time will tell.
Huh?
Time will tell as we discuss it. I am in favor of making it mandatory, regardless of anyone's political leanings or anything else. I think there is a baseline understanding of certain topics that we should all participate in.
Well, it's just like the ethics training. We all have to do that. Why not?
Yeah.
I agree. That's why I'm saying let's mandate it as a rule, and then we can develop what are we going to do. The easiest thing is for human resources, who gives us the ethics training, by the way. Our personnel office does that. So we use what they give us. There's something in there that we'd like to improve on. That's where we negotiate with
Don't
them.
we use state-provided ethics training, though?
Right.
I
But
mean,
It's not like it's a vendor. Every person who works in every municipality in the state has to take it.
well, she makes sure that we did it.
yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah. Well,
And just as like, I guess where a little bit of a clarification is that state ethics law is what it is, right? It's just in the books.
Right.
Stuff when we start talking about bias, when we start talking about
very different.
systemic racism and these sorts of issues, there's a lot of viewpoints out there, even among people who want the same thing.
Mhm.
There's different ways that people look at this stuff. And so we can just say like, okay, we're going to take the city's training, but we want some sort of hand in how that training is selected going forward. And that I think is where the actual complicated part for me comes in, is what's the nature of that arrangement?
Right.
And you have to realize that our current mayor certainly is in favor of the anti-bias training. But what about a future mayor who might say, well, I'm not going to make it mandatory for employees because I don't think it's necessary. They have a different take on the whole thing. There's people out there that have those viewpoints. And we don't know who the next mayor is going to be. So we make it a rule for the council so that it's done, regardless of what the city's doing. We would use the city's employee-based anti-bias training if it existed. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about long-term, not just next term, because we don't know who the mayor is going to be. See my point there? I mean, we have to be ready. We have to make it a council rule.
I definitely think it should be codified in the city council rules so that going forward, regardless of what the city does, we will have a rule that says all incoming city councilors must, in addition to ethics or whatever we have, take this anti-bias training. Where I get kind of spun around the axle is I don't want to just say, let's take the city one. First of all, I haven't seen it. Second of all, I don't want it to be a check the box kind of thing. We took it. Okay, great. I would like it to have a little teeth and a little thought. And maybe it's, I don't know what the it is. So because I haven't reviewed options for potential training. I know that the mayor believes if it's going to cost $1,000, then let's spend $1,000 so everybody can participate. And that's where it gets a little muddy. The city might want version A, city council might want version G. And what do we do now? Do we spend $2,000? Well, we know she's not going to give us budget money for that. So, or whoever, maybe a future mayor will.
But I would rather not have this whole thing be subject to whether or not the mayor in that particular year feels like this is an important thing.
Right.
Because we've seen, meaning with no disrespect intended to anyone, when the councils ask for money, it often doesn't happen.
Right.
So,
well, and the other thing is we don't know the mayor's point of view in the future. We shouldn't tie it to the mayor. But if we have, I didn't realize that there was a cost involved in this, which does put a barrier to us because no mayor is going to give us the money. If we tack it on to the city's anti-bias training, that's easy to do. There's no new cost. But if a future mayor decides they don't want to pay for that for their own employees, then we're stuck, right? Unless there's anti-bias training the state will provide for free like they do for ethics. And I wonder if that even exists. I don't know.
and so sort of what I would envision, frankly, as one way forward, it's a little bit of a blunt instrument, but would be to basically have an ordinance that says the city shall adopt an shall have some anti-bias training for employees, and that training shall be, approved by the city council. And
funded by the city.
Yeah, and funded by the city. And if we just have that as an ordinance, then that's done. That works.
Well, yeah, because then a future mayor can't say no, right?
Right.
I like it, Tom.
But I want to be a little bit diplomatic about that because I know there's always a balance of power thing going on. And
absolutely. But,
yeah.
And I think
I
our
don't
current
actually
mayor-
foresee like Nicole having a big issue with this, but I don't know what some future mayor would, some future mayor would feel. So
Well, she might have an issue if we suddenly get that ordinance passed and we say, we don't like your city employee bias training. We want this one, and it costs $2,000 per counselor or whatever. Then she'd have an issue because she has to budget that. And we just made an ordinance which says she has to budget. You see my point?
yeah, no, I do. But I also think that if we just approach this in a way of saying, look, this is a thing that we all agree is important. This is something that we want to start participating in. And we want to set up an arrangement that makes us an equal partner in sort of making sure that the right sorts of trainings for this are selected. I don't think that necessarily has to be like, I think that can be I think that we can come to an agreement that everyone's happy with.
Well,
Yeah.
the only reason for the ordinance is to protect against the future mayor not wanting to spend any money for city employees or anybody on it, right? That's why we'd have an ordinance. To codify it. Codified in the rules is one thing, but I don't know. What do you think?
It's that, or it's a situation where maybe they do want to spend money on it, but there's a disagreement between the mayor and the council on the contents of that training.
Okay. So, well, whichever way you want to go, the ordinance makes it protects the idea for the future, in my mind.
I agree, but
The rule would make it, at least we get it done for next term. Maybe the ordinance too, I don't know.
I think we could pretty easily do both. I'm just saying,
Well, we could write our own ordinance. It doesn't have to go to ordinance committee. We just have
correct.
I guess we'd have to write the ordinance, and the rules committee decided instead of a rule, we're going to write an ordinance and send it to the council, and then they'll send it back to us, I guess. You know what I mean? If you want to go that route, I'm all in favor, Tom, so whatever you want to do. I just think we ought to get something done before the term ends, because the next term, when this is all going to be activated, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I'm saying, when I spoke to Nicole and laid the situation out, she seemed receptive to the idea, but was just asking if we could delay talking about it with her until like a month from now, so that.
What's another reason to have her and Emily here?
What's that?
Emily would know, Emily Russo, the personnel director.
Yes.
She would know what anti-bias training is being used now. And so we should have them both
have
here.
knowledge of what's currently being used.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like the mayor, if we're going to be talking about writing an ordinance which sort of lays out like how this relationship's going to change, I'm kind of interested in how, like, if the mayor has any thoughts about that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I agree. I think she might be, well, it's hard to say. She wants the anti-bias training, but she doesn't like to tie the hands of a future mayor by saying you have to spend money on this. That's what she might be objecting to, but who knows?
Yeah.
Let's wait till February meeting, whenever you can get the two of them. That should be our next discussion for both subjects.
Okay. I might, when I reach out to Councilor Kwasinski, if he wants to, I might propose an early February meeting to just discuss that, unless, I'll just see where he is and I'll go from there.
You mean the charter thing?
The charter thing, yes.
Well, we could put that out. Instead of having two meetings, we could do it in one meeting if we wanted to. When you got the mayor and we could wait. The urgency on this isn't that extreme. We get the IT guy on board, we get the mayor, we get Emily, and we get JP here at one meeting. We could get it all done.
I don't know. That sounds like a pretty long meeting.
Okay. Well, whatever you want to do, Tom. You're the chair.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll talk to those folks about that, and I'll be in touch about trying to get something set up for a month from now or so. And I'll also touch base with JP and just see whether there's some reason why he feels like this really can't wait until we get back until we get our current legislative petition back
Okay.
and go from there.
Well, tell them that I'd like to combine it with other charter things. That's my opinion, because we do have some things we'd like to throw out there. And you might want to just set up, the Rules Committee can do some minor charter things. They don't have to have a big committee. I mean,
Right.
whatever.
Can we also, when and if we get around to talking about City Council Rule 5C, can we, that's another thing we need to have a discussion with, I think, Councilor Zaret. So.
Is it 5C or 11? Which one is that?
5C.
Okay.
That's right.
We need to have him here.
Yeah, that's going to be, I think, a whole conversation. So maybe we should try and do that and JP's thing sometime in 2 weeks or something.
Okay.
Then the other stuff. Does that make sense?
Sure. You
Okay.
want to set a time now?
Well, let's see.
I have my calendar up.
Would the 11th work?
Probably.
I could do the 11th.
I don't think I have anything that day. Um,
I'm open.
So the 11th at 5, is that okay, Tom?
yeah, I can do 5. It's not like I have a commute. So
Okay.
Let me just
February
make-
11th at 5 p.m.
Okay.
I just want to just check one thing real quick. Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Great. All right.
So you're going to try and get Owen and JP here.
Yes, I will try and get Owen and JP to the meeting.
All right, good.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks so much, guys.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes,
Second.
motion in a second. All in favor, Councilor Rist?
Aye.
Aye.
Councilor Clough? Aye. Okay, and I vote aye as well. All right, thanks everyone. See you later.
Have a good night.
Aye.